Hey everyone, this is Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing omni-channel marketing strategies for Amazon sellers. We're going to be talking about Amazon's Buy with Prime feature, strategies to drive traffic from Amazon to your website, and how to improve your organic ranking on your listing on Google. So welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast.
Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with
Okay, today we got a great topic, and we're going to be discussing omni-channel marketing strategies for Amazon sellers. But before we do anything, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up, and share this episode out. Our guest is a marketing expert with over 15 years of experience. He's worked in just about every role within the marketing world. Frustrated with trying to get separate agency departments and people to try to work together, he likes to say it was like herding cats. So he founded BlueTuskr. He brings a sense of unity to brands by developing an internal team that works together toward one common goal: results. So can't wait to talk to him. It's Andrew Maff, and we'll be talking to him shortly. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor. Hey, Amazon, Walmart, and TikTok sellers, we're in Q4 and I know the pressure's on. So how do you rank higher and sell more during the busiest time of year? Well, as a certified Amazon partner agency, AZRank has the expertise and proven strategies to take your projects to the top, driving visibility and sales across all platforms. With a proven expertise in optimizing search rankings, AZRank guarantees your products stand out during this critical shopping season. You can email AZRank today at hello@azrank.com. That's AZRANK.com. And don't forget to mention the Beard Guy sent you, and that's going to unlock an exclusive discount. Right. Where is the mayor of Blunderville?
Hello. How's it
Hello,
going?
sir. Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I want to welcome Steve and Jessica in the comment sections. Good to see everyone, and yeah, excited for today's episode.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Let's see. Do we have any events? Do we have anything that we need to talk about?
Did you want to mention the beta program and give an update on that?
Yeah, sure. So Dragonfish, the beta program, had a good chance, and Kevin and I have gone through it. We've made a selection. We've got right now it's 3 confirmed people in the short list, possibly one more person, and we'll let everybody know at the end of probably today. Maybe it'll be tomorrow, just depending on how the day goes. But we had a lot of people that entered that beta program. So one things I'm trying to do is to try to give everybody some sort of helpful advice who had entered, whether you're in the program or not. It was very interesting because when I looked at these brands, it was some of the brands, it was like, you're not listening. There's so much you could do here to improve your sales just by optimizing your listing or photos. Like photos, I saw low resolution, but then there were these gems that were in there. And I know, Kelsey, you know who I'm talking about. The one person who actually contacted us, his site was beautiful. He did a great job, and he's definitely on the short list. So if you're listening, you know who I'm talking about. But it was very interesting to see how people or what people were doing. Some people were brand new, and those people, some of those products were fantastic. Others, most of it is images, and to rethink your images. But we'll get into that. And we're going to be talking about some really cool things today. but just wanted to get back. Also, I just wanted to let people know about the Marketing Misfits. So we've got some really great episodes happening. Just from my end, I've talked about this before on the podcast. Sometimes you have to spend money to make money, good money, not bad money. I mean, some people throw a lot of money away on things they shouldn't. Others don't spend the right money. So for me, I decided that I found a person that had worked at some really cool companies like Warner Brothers, and just doing their social media and specifically their YouTube channel. So I've been talking to him. I hired him as a consultant, and he's going to be working with us on YouTube and on Marketing Misfits. So you're going to see some definite changes. I had some great conversations with him lately, and he saw ways that we could help improve the podcast, as well as just marketing of everything that we're doing. So you'll see some changes in the near future. And if you see what we're doing, just let us know what you think. I'll just leave it at that. It'll probably take about a month to really get implementing, but it was definitely worth hiring this guy. So, Kels, I think that's about it for now.
Yeah, I just also want to give a quick shout out to some new sponsors that we've got on the podcast the last couple of weeks. So True Ops, and AZ Rank, and of course Walmart Marketplace. So make sure you check out those links in the descriptions to learn more. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, right now, by the way, Walmart, check it out. Like, we're putting them in the newsletter. We've got them in the podcast, so you'll see the link. But they really are offering some really great incentives for anybody listening to the podcast. So check it out. We'll have a special link up there for you, or you can check it out in the newsletter. All right, let's get to Andrew. So if you have any questions or comments, throw it in the comments section, and sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and let's get to Andrew.
What's up, Normie?
Hey,
I'm so excited to be on this show.
Yeah, and I'm excited to have you on the show. Just a second, I'm going to cough. Too many cigars, I'm telling you.
Ooh,
Gotta
that
go back.
sounds good. That sounds good.
You know, when I was just on your podcast the other day, and it was great. It was so easy to talk to you, but there's so much we can talk about. That's one of the things. We just kept going down different rabbit holes, and now it's my turn to throw some questions at you. So this is going to be great. But what a great topic today. Everybody, I think the topic for 2023, 2024, going into 25 is omnichannel. And so many people still fear it, or they're not doing it for one reason or the other. They think it might be too complicated. But it's definitely something that sellers should be looking at. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's, every time I talk to people about it, like, the concept of it is very different, right? Like, I'm very confident everyone who's come onto my podcast, I've listened to countless episodes of yours. It's very one channel, right? Like, here's the best thing you can do for your listings or your Amazon ads or TikTok, or like it's one individual channel, but not a lot of people are discussing like how they all work together, and how marketing has so many like gray areas, and these sales channels have so many gray areas. And every time I talk about omnichannel marketing, there's nuances of it that aren't as easily trackable. So we're also used to this amazing digital world where every little thing is easily tracked down to the penny. And when you start to think that marketing online is starting to become a little bit more like traditional marketing, where it's not as easy to track things as it once was, and the consumer journey is extremely fluid, it becomes more challenging to figure that kind of stuff out. And so obviously there's a lot of push and pull to it, but all of the big top brands that I know that are putting it into place, they're the ones that, you hit some hurdles when you first start trying it and you start evaluating, like, how am I going to get this to work? But they're the ones that have been able to clearly define like how they can build their brand online, leveraging all of these different sales channels, Amazon specifically.
When I'm at events, I get talking to a lot of sellers, and a lot come up to me and say something about Walmart or TikTok Shop. And first of all, like, I'm asking them how much they're selling right now, what type of product it is, what's their niche. And then I'm saying, why not? And this goes like right now, Walmart, TikTok Shop. Why are you not doing that? I did a video, it's on my YouTube channel, about Walmart, and just gave 5 reasons why you should be exploring the channel. Because if you can get 10 or 30% extra sales, why are you not on there?
Yeah, exactly. It's really about just being where your customer is, right? Now,
Right.
I will caveat it to one thing though. The only reason I would, like, if you came up to me and asked me and you're like, Andrew, why aren't you on Walmart or on TikTok? My immediate response is there is sometimes what is it, like, just the benefit of the shiny thing, right? Like, you go to a conference and you talk to 3 or 4 people and all of them happen to mention that they're on TikTok, and so now you feel like, I've got to get on TikTok. I'm a big fan of figure out a channel and get it to work really well for you and then move on to the next one. So to your point, yes, you should definitely be on TikTok. You should be on Walmart. You should be on every channel that you possibly can be where your customer is, once you've nailed down the ones you're already on. Otherwise, you spread yourself so thin.
100% agree with that.
Yeah.
You've got to know, you've got to understand the beast before you go to the other channel. And
exactly.
even when you go on that channel, you've got to understand that. And for example, going from an Amazon listing to a Walmart, to the Walmart marketplace, it is very different. It's a completely different bird. Yeah. And you've got to learn that. Or going over to TikTok Shop, same thing. And I would probably say this, not because I'm an agency or you're an agency, but probably have an agency take a look at it, because they probably know more and can get you implemented on that platform a lot quicker than you could, and not make the mistakes. You're not going to pay your Walmart tax or your Amazon tax, as I put it, not as much anyways.
Yeah. So. That's that kind of brings you into like the I try not to be that agency that's like, everyone should work with an agency. Like, there are definitely scenarios where no, don't work with an agency. In fact, I saw someone post something the other day, and it was just an extremely simplistic way of looking at it, but it made so much sense. Of when you're first starting off and you're at the very beginning stages, do it yourself and learn enough to get dangerous.
Pay your Amazon tax.
Then understand that now you've got to bring in the experts and have someone really escalate it for you. And that's when you go to an agency. But then you get to another point where you have gotten to, okay, I now need more like creative elements from agencies and things like that, but not so much from the execution side. And that's where I can find, like, brands need to understand, like, you get to a certain point on certain channels where it is probably beneficial for you to have it in-house because of the nuances and the consistent changes internally. No matter how many shared Slack channels we have or calls we have, like, we're not in the office with you day to day. We are fractional. Every agency is fractional to an extent. So at that point, it's kind of like you should probably bring it in-house if you can. So like you mentioned, you go to a new channel, might be good for you to test it out a little bit, depending on the situation you're in, but usually better off to have an agency help you do it and test out what works and go through the things that they've already learned. And then if you can, get it to a point where you can take it in-house.
Slightly down a different rabbit hole, but so many people think when they're having to work with an agency that they have to have your brand completely managed, like full service management. And that's not necessarily the case. There are a lot of consultants, good consultants, like your company, for example, that I shouldn't speak for you on this one, because I don't know if you provide this service, but I know that you're a great agency. You could hire, and I do this all the time. Like I just said in the introduction, that I hired a great consultant, like a world-class consultant. I paid a lot of money to get this done, but I know I'm going to get results. What I'm suggesting is that, look, if you're looking to do LinkedIn, or if you're looking to do Facebook ads, you can go to different agencies and hire them, and you're going to pay the price for it. But at the end of the day, you still manage your brand 100%, and you just hire maybe on a quarterly or monthly basis the consultant to come in, take a look, and just put you down that right path. And sometimes that's all it takes is, here's the right direction. Especially like I said, on these beta programs, there's so many, like the images on a lot of these just were horrible, and that could easily be changed. How important it is to have a good image.
Yeah, I honestly, it's almost tiring to talk about.
Yeah,
because at this point, like, when Amazon was like in its heyday, and you could just throw a product up there and then retire to the Bahamas or whatever it is people like to claim that they were doing, like that was, take a picture of it on your phone, take a picture of it with a Polaroid, I don't care, throw it up on Amazon, you will make some money. Now, the big boys are in there, right? Like now it's like, you've got to do it right. And so at this point, like if you don't know that you should have quality product photography, that you've got to do, from an Amazon perspective, you've got to do your research, you've got to write your listing copy, you've got to have some nice, call outs, infographic size charts, all that fun stuff. Same thing on your website, like the amount of people that half-ass the website because they want to try D2C, and then they're like, oh, D2C doesn't work for me. I'm like, yeah, because your website's arguably unusable. Like at this point, I don't even like talking about it anymore because it's so frustrating. And it's like, if you don't know that, we're not going to be able to help you because you're hitting a wall. You could have the world's best advertising, creative, you could have the best targeting, you could have the best messaging, you could be flawless, and you could put them on a garbage listing or a horrendous website and they will not work. Yeah. So to not start there just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And the other thing now, kind of getting back to Omnichannel, you have to think about, so images we've already talked about it, but cash flow. So you want to get into Omnichannel. There is a danger zone. Cash flow is definitely something you want to make sure that you take a look at, and before getting into any type of Omnichannel. But anything to add to that?
Yeah. I might rant here for a second, so stay with me. But this is one of my favorite things to talk about, because I'm not I bootstrapped this agency. So I've built a business on my own. This is now technically my third agency, but I have built all these businesses basically with arguably zero capital, like basically just enough to buy a computer, and then just taking it from there and slow rolling it. So when I talk to brands, I always try to position it of like the same concept. Like I'm going to position this where, let's assume we're bootstrapping here, so I can keep this as inexpensive for you as possible before you just jump in, right? Because jumping in, assuming that, let's say you're just selling on Amazon, is now I got to create this really nice fancy website. I got to start doing meta ads and TikTok ads and Google ads and SEO and email marketing and influencers. And so how do we ease into that? Because it's like starting a new business if you're just selling on Amazon and you're trying to venture out, right? So you just don't want to take that jump. It's wildly expensive and it doesn't start working overnight. The great thing about Amazon is people are actively searching for things. And if you've got your nice listings in place, you've got your advertising in place, you should theoretically convert. It's not the same thing through D2C, right? So what I try to map out is, how do we ease into this? So on the assumption that you're a good size Amazon seller and you want to start to venture into D2C, which I always highly recommend because Amazon's costs probably went up since we started this podcast. So the first thing I always suggest is, there's a good chance in this scenario you are already driving some type of sponsored brand ads to your storefront, right? So we can get the assumption that your storefront has the ability to convert. So the next thing I always suggest is, let's just set up an Amazon attribution code and let's test either Meta or Google ads, depending on the brand, and let's drive some traffic directly to your storefront. I just want to see, can off Amazon traffic convert? It might not be profitable. It might not be at the best conversion rate I want it to be, but I just want to know that it's possible and I can always improve from there. Once I can prove that out, I haven't built any new assets. I'm just starting on a new channel. Once I can prove that out, which relatively happens pretty quickly because you start running some ads, and if they're working, great. If they're not, they're not. Then you figure out, okay, do you A, create a website right out of the gate, or B, do you lean in on one of your top sellers or top categories and just start with a landing page? Just start with something real basic, pivot those ads to that landing page or to a relatively more bare bones website and see if you can get them to convert off Amazon. But you can have your cake and eat it too, where either A, you can implement Buy with Prime onto that landing page or that website, which we partnered with them to be able to test this type of stuff. So that way, if your user is still really used to shopping with you on Amazon, they have the ability to. I find for Buy with Prime, which they'll usually get mad at me for saying this, but if your product is like less than like $30, $35, usually the math doesn't line up. So your other option is do what I used to do before Buy with Prime existed and create like an available on Amazon button. Put an event code on it so you can track it, and you can obviously segment out that audience. You can put the attribution code on that button. But now you're driving all your traffic to your website to see if you can get this audience to convert on this website or on this landing page, but still give them the option to go to Amazon. Let them go directly to the listing or let them go through Buy with Prime. It's very possible that your audience is just so used to shopping with you on Amazon that they want that capability, right? Then you can start to push and pull which of those advertising platforms is working the best. And then that's where you start to evaluate, okay, do we scale it out? Do we bring on the rest of our product line? Do we look at other marketing channels? Obviously, if you did the rest of the website. And that's where you slowly start to ease into it so that you're not just jumping into something that's going to cost you like tens of thousands of dollars right out the gate. You can ease into it and start to figure out, how do we evaluate an off Amazon market and see if they can actually convert before I just jump into creating my whole brand off Amazon.
So how easy is that?
Well, the process in itself is very simple. Right? Like, let's say you're driving traffic to a storefront. Great. You create a Meta Ads account, run some ads, get some good creative. We already talked about imagery. See if that works. For certain brands, Meta works better, or like a TikTok works better, like something where it's more educational. It's more like, creative and showcasing the product. Or if it's something that has a high search volume, then we might want to look at a Google Ads. So just drive the traffic to the storefront, set it up with an attribution code, and just see if you can get it to convert. Because you just want to know, is it even possible to get people off Amazon to convert? There are certain products that are like more like commodities on Amazon that just do well on Amazon. People go to Amazon to buy them there, but like selling just clothing hangers is going to be a little tough, right? So at that point, you've got to figure out, how can I differentiate it? And that's a whole different conversation. Building out a landing page, super simple. Like that, I mean, you get that knocked out in a couple weeks for a really nice one, and it's in a good space. You just reconnect all your ads to go to that landing page. Maybe you decided to make the jump and go ahead and make a bigger website out of it. Then you're just kind of doing traditional D2C to a certain extent, but then you're just implementing either like a Buy with Prime or an available on Amazon button, which honestly we kind of do anyway. And then you're putting event code tracking onto either the Buy with Prime button or the available on Amazon button so that you can segment out that Amazon audience. My favorite thing to do, like once you're able to scale it, is to segment that audience regardless. Because if you are using Buy with Prime, that does integrate with Klaviyo, so you can do it from a retention perspective as well. But even if you're not, it integrates with Meta and Google Analytics, which if you just put an event code on an available on Amazon button, it works the same. You can then segment out that audience. And so what we start to look at once the brand's got a nice size off Amazon presence, how do we take that audience and actually drive that traffic to Amazon for product launches, or if we Prime Day? Like now I have the data, I have the control, and I know if I'm launching a new product on Amazon, I've got that nice little 30 to 60 day honeymoon period. So let me drive some traffic to there with an audience I know shops on Amazon, that I know likes my products. Let me get benefit from the initial sales, the initial reviews to improve that organic ranking. And then I'll pivot it back to my website, because chances are my margins are better anyway. So you do the same thing with Klaviyo if you're able to integrate it with something like Buy with Prime. So there's a ton of different ways that you can do it. Every brand is very different. One of my favorite things that I say to the team that they always drive me crazy with, of like, because I say it too often, is every brand, every product, every category, and every business owner are all wildly different. So it doesn't matter if you have like a templated process, because it 9 times out of 10, it won't work for every business. You've got to be able to adjust. And so that always comes down to who are we targeting? How are we targeting it? What are the business owners' goals? That kind of stuff.
You know, I've loved working with DSP for years, and I've seen some great results. I've seen some not so great results depending on the niche. But you've mentioned, and I noticed in the notes, that you actually have strategies to leveraging the DSP to drive traffic from Amazon to your website. Can you explain that?
Oh, this is my new favorite thing. So they announced this at Accelerate this past year. And it's still like, Accelerate was in September. So by the time we started playing with it a little bit, like, I would say that I can't definitively say that it works every time, but we have seen some nice results. There are certain brands where the concept works really well. But basically what they announced was, if you're using Buy with Prime on your website, you now have the ability to use DSP to drive traffic from Amazon directly to your website. As long as you have Buy with Prime on there, they are allowing it. So essentially, you're kind of circumventing Amazon sales anyway. My side of it is, for those of you who are listening that don't know, Buy with Prime, you get to keep the data. So you still get their name, last name, address, email, all that fun stuff. And you can segment them so you can target them differently later. But I have so much more control on my website. Amazon's obviously done a great job at figuring out their PDPs are structured correctly and all that fun stuff. But on my website, not only can I control my audience more because I have their data, but I can upsell them on certain things. When you're on a PDP, upselling is kind of tough, of course, unless you're like bundling and things like that. But on your website, you have the ability to do those things. You also have the ability to use Amazon as more of a customer acquisition channel, which is kind of how I've started to see Amazon over the years. I still think, even though they've released countless features, building a brand on Amazon is extremely difficult, because each product in a certain way is almost like its own little business. Every time you launch a new product, you're kind of starting from scratch. It's tough you can't really reach out to an audience and tell them about new product, and you're basically starting that whole process over. And when you're on your own website, it's very different. You can email people, you can run ads, you can post on social, you can do all these different things. And of course, in this assumption, you're only on Amazon. But with the DSP side, if you're able to acquire that customer on Amazon and then start to advertise to them, upselling them to your own website. Or one of the things that I think has been kind of the best position of it is Amazon. Not a lot of people, you have a subscribe and save option, but it's just recurring products showing up, right? There's no benefit to subscribing, excluding like, your 5% savings or whatever. But if you're driving traffic to Amazon, they're converting, and you have a product with a subscription, you can now incentivize them to come from Amazon that they purchased your product, and send them back to your website and incentivize them to subscribe. So now, to your cash flow perspective, we are able to actually evaluate your cash flow on a longer period. Everyone loves subscriptions. You get the data. So you can actually start to use Amazon to find your new customers and then advertise them to incentivize them to come to your website and shop directly on your site.
So anybody listening, do you understand the power of what Andrew just talked about?
I was so excited.
This is so exciting. Like you're building your list and being able to market to that list and segment that list. Ah, man. Yeah, very, very exciting. Look, we're at the bottom of the hour. And if you're listening for the first time, we have something at the top of the hour called the Wheel of Kelsey. And that's where we give away a prize, usually from the guest. And we've got a great prize today. We'll get into that in a second. But all you need to do is enter hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. Oops, I need a coffee mug. I didn't bring one. Coffee was being delivered. Hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, or tag 2 people and you'll get a second entry. So Andrew, why don't you tell everybody what we're giving away today?
So For us, we've got a few different options actually. So one of the things I know I had mentioned to you was we were going to do $500 off BlueTuskr services, right? Kind of straightforward. Our difficulty being an agency is like we've got a ton of different services. So in certain scenarios, it is what it is. I will do a minimum of 500 off or up to 15% off, depending on if anyone wants to explore working with us. The other thing was we have audits for SEO, Google Ads, retention, and now CRO as well. And I will be giving away one of each of those today. And so if I decided to ramp it up a little bit, this is what you do to me, Norm, when I get to hang out.
Very good. That's great.
So anyone listening, have at it. What do they do? Subscribe. They hashtag
Just
and then tag
hashtag
people?
Wheel of Kelsey. Tag 2 people, you get a second entry. All
like
right.
Wheel
Okay.
of Kelsey.
So let's go to a sponsor and then we'll come right back. Hey, Amazon sellers, are you leaving money on the table with Amazon? Well, TrueOps is here to help you reclaim every last cent you're owed. Over 1,400 brands have already recouped millions with TrueOps cutting-edge technology. Finding reimbursements others may have missed. And guess what? You only pay 10% commission, no more overpaying the industry standard of 25%. Plus, the first $1,000 in reimbursements is free to you. Here's the best part. TrueOps doesn't get paid unless you do. If Amazon ever reverses a claim, TrueOps automatically credits your fees back to you. Now that's peace of mind. Remember, $1,000 free reimbursements to start, then just 10% of successfully recovered funds. You have nothing to lose but the 3 minutes it takes to sign up for a free audit and so much more to gain. Sign up with the link in the description and start reclaiming what's rightfully yours. Okay, so let's get back at her. Once we talked about DSP and some of the new things that are happening with that, and I love it. You know, that I gotta, even for myself, I've got to take a deeper look at that because there's just so many opportunities. But there's also opportunities in developing off Amazon SEO strategies now to improve your organic ranking of your listings on Google. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when we first start working with any brand, a lot of times, you know, they've got their own website and they're selling on Amazon. And so one of the things that we always try to look at is the business holistically, as opposed to just the website or just Amazon, because we've run countless tests of like increasing, let's say, meta ad spend, driving traffic to a website, and you'll see like a relevant revenue increase, as I would hope, but you'll also see a relative revenue increase on Amazon as well. Like it's almost every time, and watch my wife do it all the time too. She'll go to someone's website, then she'll hop over to Amazon. So that's how we started figuring out this omni-channel thing. And so then what we did is like, okay, and we talked about the buy with Prime side and the Amazon and the available on Amazon side. And so like from an advertising perspective and a retention perspective, you know, segmenting your audience, driving the traffic to the Amazon, blah, blah. Then we started talking about like, okay, for the SEO side of things, this is almost completely focused on the website, right? You've got your blogs that are very organic traffic relevant. So it's more like top of funnel stuff. Then you've got more like, we call them like your core pages, but your product pages, your collection pages that are more organic revenue focused. How do you get the two to work together? That kind of thing. Then we started to think about how can we actually involve Amazon in this type of stuff? And so one of the most obvious things that we do that's got a little bit of a tie to both is we always find blogs are like the biggest miss for every brand. They load up a ton of copy on their blogs, hoping that it ranks, and then it just sits there. But like, you've got to make it easier to read so it's easier to digest so that people stay on the page more because that improves your rankings. But you're never going to run ads on your own blog, right? Like you're not a media outlet. So what you're going to do is you're going to typically just throw in stock images or product images or whatever you have. But what we've actually started doing is creating our own like custom, it's like a display ad, right? But it's your own display ad, incentivizing people to go to a category page or go to a product page to actually get them to convert. Shopify even has some apps where they can shop directly within the blog. So we look at ways of how can we get the blog to bring in more organic revenue, even though we know it's more of a top of funnel approach. From an Amazon perspective, we do a very similar thing, because sometimes what we'll do is we might have similar like display ads within the blog. One goes to the category page, one might go to a PDP, or I'll throw an attribution link on it and send it directly to Amazon. But the other side of it, where it's actually improving the SEO of your Amazon listings. Every page on the internet has a page authority, right? So it's basically Google's kind of ranking of how well should this page rank for whichever keyword it's focused on. Every Amazon listing has the same thing. If you Google certain products, you will come across an Amazon listing as a search result, right? Well, you can actually focus on getting more and more backlinks to that Amazon listing, which is going to improve that page authority over time. So the more and more traffic you can get to a listing from off Amazon, you're actually going to see that incremental improvement on the Google side of things. So the goal being like, hey, if you can be number one on Amazon, that's always what we're aiming for. But what if you could also be number one on Google? Because that's going to bring you more and more traffic to the listing. So what we look at is A, how do we grow more backlinks to these Amazon listings? But then B, when you're writing a blog in any way, shape, or form, you always want to make sure that you're linking to the relevant pages like category pages, product pages, etc. We start to incorporate the Amazon listings as well, so that our blog content, while it's focused on driving traffic to the blog for a certain keyword, it's backlinking to the product pages and collection pages that are hopefully bringing us more organic revenue, but it's also backlinking to my Amazon listing that ideally is going to improve its page authority to rank higher on Google, so that I can get more traffic to the Amazon listing itself, which will obviously improve my organic ranking on on Amazon also. So a lot of people don't focus on, if they're just selling on Amazon, they don't focus on off Amazon really at all. But the SEO side, it's one of my favorite strategies just because it's safer. I see it as, if you invest in it now, a year from now, you'll be really happy you did it. And if you have a cash flow issue and you need to stop doing SEO or you need to slow down, your SEO is going to be just fine. It'll take a while for it to come down. Whereas for advertising, if you're having cash flow issues and you got to cut your spend, you're screwed. You're just out. So that's why I love investing in that more like kind of hard asset that is SEO and doing that same concept for Amazon.
You mentioned a couple of things, and one with the content, putting in your own advertisements into the blogs.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done that, and I put out a lot of content. We think when we're putting out blog content that we've got them formatted properly for SEO, right to what the algorithm's looking for. And if any of the listeners, if you want to know the format that we're using, we've brought on like a top SEO guy, Steve Wiedemann. He's been on a few times, and he goes through the steps of what you've got to do to rank for SEO. And the other thing with your blogs, the other thing you can do too is use an app called Phrase.io, and that's FRASE.io, and it'll summarize all the top blog articles with your keywords, and then it'll tell you exactly what you have to do to beat it in the ranking. But what you just did with the linking and the sponsorship on that article is a great idea. So, put a skyscraper in there or just put a banner, something really simple with that link. But some of the other things you can do for backlinking, gift guides, press releases. Although like a lot of press releases, you got they're not a do follow link. So you're not going to get that juice, but you get that authority. But there's so many things, guest blogs, people that can write about your article, influencers that can link back. So I want to go through that.
Yeah.
Do you have a list of ways to backlink? So first of all, explain a backlink, because a lot of people don't understand it. And then second, what are some of the backlinks that we could easily implement?
Yeah. Backlinking, you have a do follow backlink and you have a no follow backlink, right? So to your point, typically press releases, you're going to get a bunch of links, but they're marked as no follow, which basically is just telling Google like, hey, we're linking to this, but ignore it. So you're not getting any credit for it pretty much. Do follow, which is the backlinks you want. That's where Google's acknowledging it, right? So there's a bunch of ways to do it. You can do the basic, which is kind of reaching out to different articles, publications, and just saying like, hey, I saw you reference this. It'd be great if you linked to this article or this product or whatever you want to do. Tough to do, but doable. The other side of it is shared backlinks, which as long as you don't overdo it, it's totally fine. So that is where you reach out to people and you're like, hey, I'd love to have, this article linked on this place. I'd also be happy to link to you as well. So you can kind of shared benefit, right? Then you've got guest blog posts, as you referenced. Guest blog posts are fantastic. If you can submit on blogs, some people, they'll charge you for it. But usually I think that in certain cases, they might be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, not only are you getting several backlinks out of it, but you're getting the additional brand awareness from it. And so one thing that you mentioned that we've been doing, so you mentioned you use Phrase. We use a similar platform. And what we'll actually do, Google likes it when you refresh content, right? So you use that platform to go back and update old stuff and, figure out how to rank it better and blah, blah. We take that same concept and we'll find an article that we really want to rank for, usually a higher domain authority one, because they're the harder ones to get and they're the ones that you want. So we'll actually take that article that we want to get a backlink from, and we'll run that report up against several of its competitors that might be outranking it for certain terms. We'll pull that report and see that, okay, this report is telling me that I need like X more words, right? I'm going to write X more words, throw in our backlink in there. And I'm going to reach out to the author and supply them not only with the copy and the backlink, but the report as well, to show them if you add this in there, you should actually see an incremental improvement in your ranking. And then obviously we kind of mentioned like we are linking to one of our articles in there. We'd really appreciate if you left it in. It's a longer process, but for those higher domain authority sites, it works really well because they're like, oh, this is actually not someone just spamming me to get a backlink. This is actually proof that this should rank better based off what they just supplied me. And so those can work really well too.
So is that app proprietary?
The one we're using?
Yeah.
No. So you mentioned you use Phrase. We use, I don't know if they're like a sponsor of yours, so I didn't want to like say the one we're using.
No, they're not.
Okay. No, we're using Surfer SEO.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, very similar.
Perfect. Okay. What was I going to say on that? Oh, I had another way to backlink. Oh yeah. PR. Yeah. So if you have an event or you create an event, or you can tie yourself into another person's event, like let's say you're selling pet products, dog chews or whatever it is, and the Humane Society is doing something, or ASPCA, I think that's what it's called in the States. They're having an event. You could tie into that, and then when they're announcing it, especially if it's national, you can tie that in somehow and link it back to your store, give a discount. That's also national exposure. I had a business where we ended up on Dr. Phil, and we ended up in his reference guide, in his directory. Dr. Phil has a huge authority, like a domain authority, and we killed it. Like the next day we woke up and we're going like, what happened? All of a sudden these leads were coming in, and it was Dr. Phil. We didn't even know he put us in his directory until we figured out, oh, it's Dr. Phil. It was a link from Dr. Phil. So yeah, I can't express that enough. Like you should spend a lot of time looking at your content and looking for backlinks. I'm so glad you brought that up. It is important.
Yeah. Did you see did you read about the leak in May when they accidentally released like how they rank stuff, Google, and what they talked about from a backlink perspective?
I didn't see that. No.
So you've got to look this up. So in May, oh man, I can't remember the guy's name. But he's with Moz. They got a hold of Google's API, like how they actually rank things. And it's like hundreds upon hundreds of pages. Now, every time they do a core update, which they're actually rolling one out literally as we speak right now, when they do one, it tweaks it a little bit. But in this update, one of the things that they'd mentioned in the how they look at backlinking, yes, high domain authority backlinks are always going to be very beneficial, but they actually weigh newer backlinks much higher. Well, I wouldn't say much higher. They weigh newer backlinks a lot better than if you had like a really good domain authority backlink, but it's old. Like they want to see that you're consistently getting new backlinks. So they're actually, it showed that like you could get a really good domain authority backlink and just be like crushing it for a little while, but the ranking of it will fall off for a while. So to your point, one of the other things that I was going to mention too is like podcasts like this, right? So like one of the things that I always talk about when we reach out, because we have a lot of brands on our show, you're talking to other e-commerce sellers. So it's not, you're probably not going to get a lot of product sales out of it. So I've got to make sure there's some incentive around it. So I always explain to them like, hey, you know, here's a big list that people, who knows, they might buy your product. But here's our domain authority. Here's the backlinks that you get out of it. And so that they know that there's a benefit to that. So like even just podcast hopping is another great way, as long as they're linking back to you in like show notes and stuff like that, is another great way to get backlinks too.
Oh man, it's just so important, and I'm so glad that we talked about it. I got to check that out. Was it Rand Fishkin from Moz? Yeah,
thank you.
He's been on the podcast.
Oh, has he?
Yeah,
I love that guy. I read.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's got a good book too. Yeah, we actually did in. It's on our YouTube channel. So if anyone's listening, our BlueTuskr YouTube channel. I want to say it was in like August, maybe, but we did a webinar specifically around what was leaked and how does it affect e-commerce sellers? Because the other big thing specific to e-commerce was the CRO side. They really take into account the overall UX UI of a website. So if you've got really bad bounce rates, you've got, low time spent on pages, Google's assuming that your website is just a poor experience. And so they don't want to rank you well. Mm-hmm. So you could have amazing content, but if your website's like obviously slow loading, we already know about, but like if it's not mobile friendly and easy to read and people are kind of like going to different links and things like that, it's not going to rank as well. That's why you see a lot of like those bigger pillar piece articles rank really well, because they add in like the kind of like the index up at the top. So you can anchor text down to something. And as soon as they click that, it's not really a bounce anymore. So immediately that starts to rank better because Google thinks that they're hanging out on the site and using it more. So there's a ton of stuff on there too about how Google's looking at that from an e-commerce perspective.
Okay. If anybody has any questions, we're going to dive into it right now. Don't be afraid. If you think it's a rookie question and you're worried about that, I can guarantee you there are people listening right now that want to post that question. So put that in. Also, hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. It looks like we're having a couple feed problems today, but hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. And if you, what am I trying to say? Andrew, what am I trying to say? If you enter, or if you tag two people, you'll get a second entry. All right. So let's start with Alan. So, Kels, what do we got?
All right. So from Alan, does Amazon allow earning affiliate revenue on our Amazon storefronts?
Does Amazon allow earning affiliate revenue on our own Amazon storefront?
So if they're driving traffic, I guess, over from Buy with Prime or from their website rather than their Amazon store.
Yeah. If you use the Amazon affiliate link, which you can create one in your advertising console, you can create an affiliate link. They will give you that 10%. They love that you're driving traffic from off Amazon, so they don't care if you're doing it or anything. Years ago, they weren't a fan of it, and they used to not let you do it, and then they started letting you do it. Buy with Prime's different, though. So one of the things with Buy with Prime is it's a functionality on your website. So if someone places an order through Buy with Prime on your website, it's fulfilled at a FBA, but it has nothing to do with your Amazon listing. So there is no benefit from an Amazon perspective for people to purchase through Buy with Prime, except obviously the sell through, and then you're dealing with shelving fees and all that kind of stuff. But either way, it's not going to improve it's not going to improve traffic on your listing or reviews or sales or anything like that. So the Buy with Prime side, it won't have any effect there. But if you're using an Amazon affiliate link, yes, absolutely, they don't care.
Yeah, and there's no referral fees. Like if you've got Buy with Prime on your D2C your Shopify site, Buy with Prime, as soon as you use that, all it's doing is directing it over. You're going to be able to buy the product, but you're not going to get dinged with an Amazon referral fee, which is nice.
Yeah, it's last I checked, it's just a 3% commission. There's no FBA fee. But where it gets kind of weird is they use MCF charge like fulfillment fees. So I've typically found, not all the time, but in some cases, products under like $30, $35, the math doesn't always math for you. So usually they've got a calculator, I think, on their website, so you can kind of figure it out. But I think it's worth a test. They don't charge you to like set it up. It's completely free. We're VWO partners, so like we just throw it into an A/B test and A/B test it for a little while. It's never hurt anyone. If anything, we've seen conversion rate improvements. It really just has to do with, when someone actually uses it, are you making money or not?
Right. Okay. Like I mentioned, unfortunately, we've had a couple feed problems today. So what I think we're going to do is some of these prizes, we might have a contest in the WhatsApp group and post them later. But we have a few people that could get through, and we'll add them into the Wheel of Kelsey. And it's unfortunate. It was one of the first times this has happened. So we will get that started right after this sponsor. And I guess you'll experience the Wheel of Kelsey firsthand.
Start, scale, exit, repeat. I'm Colin C. Campbell, and I've started over a dozen multi-million-dollar companies in the last 30 years. I spent the last 10 years writing the book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, to figure out what it is that these serial entrepreneurs do over and over again. We interviewed over 200 people. We created 58 chapters, over 30 illustrations, 180 callouts, and we quite frankly made this book for the ADHD entrepreneur. It's been #1 on Amazon in 15 categories and has won 12 awards globally. Get your book today, either on ebook, paperback, hardcover, or Audible on Amazon or your favorite bookstore.
Yeah, so that book just got another huge award. I think we just repurposed some content, and I think we're going to be publishing it on our YouTube channel. So there's a big shout out for Colin Campbell and Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. If you haven't checked out that book, check it out. I know Kevin King and I are building a new company, and it's based on the QR codes and the AI that Colin provided in the book. So it's a really easy way to put together a business plan. And like I always say, every brand should have a business plan. So check it out. I don't get an affiliate code or anything like that. Colin's a friend, and just really like that book. I don't know if you've read it yet, Andrew, but it's a great book.
I haven't. I'm going to have to check it out. Does Colin get like a percentage of the business you're starting with Kevin King, since it came from his idea?
Hell no. He's a friend.
Thanks, Colin.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we can head over to Wheel of Kelsey. This is your last chance to enter. Hopefully that thing is fixed. But okay, let's go, Kelsey. Over to Wheel of Kelsey.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
All right.
That's awesome.
Oh, there's Kelsey's emails. Let's see.
Tech issues.
Tech issues. Man,
right.
there is Andrew, I got to apologize. First the
I'm bad
channel
luck.
feed, and now we can't get the wheel up. Okay, it looks. Oh, there we go. Okay, there
Amazing.
we go. Okay, so this is great chances for this one to win. Usually, we got 10, 20 people on there. Now your chances are really good. I think 1 in 3.
All right, so let's see who the winner is. If you
It's
are
a
the
great
winner,
prize too.
please email me, kate@lunchwithnorm.com. And it looks like Steve is our winner.
Steve.
All right, and Steve, I think it was a great person to win. I know Steve. I know some of his brands. So, what does he do? Does he we'll contact him on your behalf, and then send him the information. But does he just pick the prize that he wants, or how does that work, Andrew?
Yeah, we'll have him. Here's what we'll do. We'll have him. I'll have him pick one.
Yep.
And then since we had some tech problems, everyone else who was on the show, if you want to shoot me an email, andrew@bluetuskr.com, I will just do a first come, first serve after Steve picks, and we'll just whoever else wants whatever else.
Fantastic.
And we'll
All
give
right.
them all away.
Everybody wins today.
Everybody wins.
Okay. All right, sir. Well, it's awesome having you on. It's unfortunate that we had a couple of tech problems today, but you're full of education and knowledge. So I love this. We could talk about pretty much anything. So please come back, and I don't want to wait 4 or 5 years, so we'll be sending you out another invite fairly soon.
We can do it soon. I'm down. Let's do it.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Okay. I'm going to remove you. Then I'll come back to you in a sec.
Thanks,
All
Jeff.
right, Kels.
All right, there we go. All right,
That's the
so
first.
yeah, for my camera, I guess we got a emergency alert, so it messed up the phone.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, I dropped Andrew's email down here, so check it out. Email him, and maybe you can get a prize. We'll see.
Yeah, they're awesome prizes.
Yeah. So, anyways, make sure you sign up for our email newsletter. That's lwn.news. Nice and easy to sign up. It comes with a story from Norm's past every Monday, and updates on anything that's going on here and what you missed on the podcast. So check it out. And anything else?
Yeah, just don't forget to check out Marketing Misfits. They're published every Tuesday, and they're always it's just a lot of fun. It's just Kevin and I going back and forth, and we have some great marketing guests. So these are people that have thought outside of the box to succeed, or what are some of their failures that they've made, and they've struggled with the failure, and I don't even want to use the word failure, the obstacle, and succeeded. And so how did they do it? So we do that every Tuesday. It's not live. It's all pre-recorded. And if you're interested, marketingmisfits.com. The other thing, Kels, wasn't there a link that we were going to post?
I am not sure.
Look in your Skype. Anyways, we'll put it in the WhatsApp group. I thought there was an event coming up.
Okay, yeah, we'll double check that and drop that into the WhatsApp group.
All right. Okay. So thanks everybody for joining us today. Sorry for some of these tech problems. It's live. It happens. So we just get around it. Usually I'd be in the fetal position, but after 600 plus episodes, I'm not quite in the fetal position when this happens. Hey, look, we couldn't do this podcast without you. Our community is awesome. And if you want more information, more education, well, you've got the opportunity of the podcast or the newsletter or the WhatsApp group or the Facebook group. So pick whatever you want, pick all of them if you like. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks for joining.
Lunch with Norm.